Hello, New York Giants fans. Welcome back to the Everything New York Giants podcast with New York Giants fangirl. It's been a rough week, let me tell you. I am having a hard time just accepting the fact that the Giants lost to the Commanders. And it's not just the fact that they lost, it's the fact that there were decisions made and that the defense was atrocious and they were this close to winning the game. And I just know that as a fan base, we would all feel better going into this Browns game if they were 1-1 versus 0-2. We've said for the first 2 weeks that both of those games were must-win games because of the way that the schedule goes the next few weeks. And now that we're 0-2, this is a must-win game. I just cannot imagine going into the Cowboys game 0-3. It's just, I don't want to think about it. So let's talk about what the Giants need to do in order to win this game because it's a lot. Let's start first with the injuries because Myles Garrett did not practice at all so far this week, and I am not 100% sure if the Browns put out their injury report. I'm going to check right now, but I do know that the Giants have put out theirs, and the only difference I would say from this week, not really a difference, is Nick McLeod is out. He is dealing with a knee injury and he's not going to play, which means that either Adoree Jackson or Cordell Flott is going to take the bulk of the outside corner reps opposite Tay Banks. Now, I do think that there will probably be some sort of rotation. I would not be surprised if they start with Adoree and go from there because neither of them have been amazing, to be honest, but I just think from knowing the wide receivers that we're going against with the Browns, that's exactly what they're going to do. So I'm looking at the Browns right now. I do not see their injury report, but they've got two pieces of good news. And the first one is that Myles Garrett did not practice. Now, the thing about Garrett is he is a seasoned vet. So let's say he was limited today. I would say there is a chance that we see him on Sunday and maybe he just is on a pitch count. I think that probably either way he's going to be on a pitch count unless he did not practice today. Then I think we're in the clear and he's not going to play at all. So I'm going to keep checking the Browns Twitter as we go through this episode and see if we get any updates. So let's continue on with the injuries for the Giants. So Isaiah Simmons is back at practice today. He wasn't dealing with an injury. It was a personal thing, and what I saw on his Instagram is it sounds like he lost a close friend. So send my condolences to Isaiah Simmons, and I'm glad that he's back and going to be ready to play on Sunday. And Darius Moisseau, the rookie linebacker, was also, I believe, dealing with a knee injury. He was limited in practice, but he is questionable for Sunday. So I expect to see him a little bit. And then Brian Burns was added to the injury report today. Can you guess what his injury was? I just want you to take one guess because I think at this point in the season, you can probably all guess what it was. And if you guessed a groin, ding, 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 we have a winner because apparently with the Giants now, the groin injury is the new hamstring, where last year it seems like everyone had some sort of hamstring injury. This year it's a groin. He is at least the fifth, if not more, players to deal with a groin injury this season alone. So I don't know what is going on there, but I've said it before and I'm going to say it again. Can we do something about this medical staff? And I know we did. I know we brought back Aaron Wellman. I know they made some changes there, but I don't care. I just don't think it's enough. And I'm not a doctor. I don't know what they're doing right and what they're doing wrong. But when you are the most injured team consecutively year after year and, there are still issues, I just think there's something wrong. And listen, I know that football is a contact sport. I know that there are a lot of injuries that come with it. I'm not disputing that. What I'm disputing is that when all of these players get injuries, it's a lot of the time it's the same injury. So there has to be something to make sense of that. It's not like everyone has all sorts of different injuries. Again, last year was the hamstring, this year it was the groin. Anyway, this doesn't need to be a medical tangent, but you guys know what I mean. And I've heard from a lot of you that we all feel like there's something not right about the medical staff when we're dealing with the same issue over and over and over again. So that's where we're at right now from injuries and player personnel perspective. So let's go through now kind of what the offense and defense has to do to win this game. So the Browns still have a very good defense, regardless of whether or not Myles Garrett plays. There are some players that we're going to have to watch out for. And I want to talk about one specific matchup that I think is going to be the most fun and exciting to watch, because I think that they're going to play some man-on-man, which we have seen the last 2 weeks. And when they do that against Malik Neighbors, it doesn't work in anyone's favor. So I think that's something that we have going for us. So from the Giants side, obviously it's going to be wide receiver Malik Neighbors going against the Browns cornerback Denzel Ward. Now, he has been pretty good so far this year. He has not allowed a lot of receptions, and he actually is one of 4 players in the NFL right now that are leading with forcing the most incompletions, and he has 4 along with 4 other players who also have 4. So I think that's going to be a really good and exciting battle to watch for on Sunday, so keep your eyes peeled on those 2. Let's continue on with the Browns a little bit more here. So they actually have 5 defensive players that are on IR. So obviously that has hindered their defense, but we're not talking about, a shitty defense here. They've got a good defense regardless. They're good against the run. And I think, the Giants are going to have to step up their run game this week. They did a great job last week, but in order to have some success against this team, I think that they're really going to have to establish the run game, and it's going to be hard. When it comes to wide receivers, the Browns do a really good job of mixing it up with their wide receivers. And when we get to offense, that's kind of my hope for the Giants. But Elijah Moore is the dead last out of all wide receivers in ADOT. So he has they have to have a minimum of targets, and he is dead last. So I think we have that going for us. And he has 14 targets so far. Jerry Jeudy has 14, and Amari Cooper has 15. So pretty even across the board. When you look at the Giants, it's nowhere near close to that, as I think we have all witnessed so far. So, we're going to have to rely on guys like Cordell Flott and Drew Phillips and Adoree Jackson to make plays and really be able to cover those guys. Now, I have faith in Tay Banks. I do think this week is going to be a challenge for him. But, when we're talking about guys like Jerry Jeudy and Amari Cooper, Elijah Moore, they are a good wide receiver core. There's no doubt about that. But they're not all CeeDee Lamb. So I think that if this defense steps up, which I am expecting them to do, then they have to make plays against these guys. So I think those are all going to be good matchups to watch. I also have a lot of faith in Drew Phillips. I know that you guys feel the same way. He is one of the better tacklers on this team. He is very sticky in coverage, and he is all over the place with the ball. So I expect him to be good in coverage this week and to make some good plays. So he's another guy that I'm really excited to watch. And I know we've talked about this before, but when there's so much bad with this Giants team, I just want to highlight some of the good, and Drew Phillips is one of those. So I'm excited to see more of him. Now, something else I want to talk about when it comes to the defense is we obviously know that Shane Bowen is trying to run his defensive scheme through the front 4. So if there's one positive that I think we will be hopefully able to witness this week, it's the battle of Dexter Lawrence going against the Browns center, Ethan Posick. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. I got this stat from Talkin' Giants, and I think it's a really good one. Ethan has allowed the most pressures in the NFL at the center position. Going against Dexter Lawrence, that number is only going to go up. So I'm excited. I really hope that we're going to see a good week out of the defensive line. Now, the Browns offensive line is ranked 5th in the NFL. So they might have lost some starting players, but they have some really good backups. And that's where I hope that we can get the Giants to at some point in my lifetime, where our backup offensive linemen are still actually pretty good enough to get us a top 5, top 10 offensive line in the league. But I think that's also going to be a good matchup. And listen, Deshaun Watson is not the Deshaun Watson that he used to be. And he has been all over the map. He makes bad decisions. If this front 4 can pressure him, that is going to be one of the key reasons as to why we win this game. We need that front 4 to do their job and rattle Deshaun Watson. When he is rattled and he's forced to throw the ball and he's forced to try and make plays, that's when he makes mistakes. So I think that's going to be one of the keys that is really going to help our offense score some points and hopefully win this game. I think whoever wins the turnover battle is going to win this game. And, you know, it happened last week where Singletary fumbled the ball and Washington ended up winning. Now, that's not the only reason why Washington ended up winning, but it's one of them. That our offense has to be good and make smart decisions, but we need the defense to do whatever they can to rattle Deshaun Watson and get him to make stupid decisions, because that's going to help us win. The one last point that I have here too, especially when it comes to injuries, is they are missing Njoku. And if him and Myles Garrett don't play, like, I know we all understand what good of players they are, but if those two, and we already know that Njoku is out, but if Myles Garrett is out too, I just think that it's a really, really good opportunity for this Giants team to show us that they are not nearly as bad as they have shown us the last 2 weeks. And, you know, I have faith in this team. It's not a lot, but there's some that's there. And I just really believe that these players are not playing to the level of their abilities, that they are better players than what we have seen on Sunday. And now is a really good time to show it. So something that I want to point out with Njoku is that he is a very good blocking tight end. We obviously all know what type of receiver he is, but he also is a good blocking tight end. And if he is not out there and the other tight ends that they have are not as good of blockers as our tight ends are, then they're not going to have the opportunity to really shore up the offensive line and do 12 personnel like I think the Giants are going to do to help really protect Deshaun Watson. And I think that, again, that is going to give the front four an opportunity to get to him and rattle him. And that is what I want to say. Let's move over to the offense, because this is going to be a battle. Like I said, I think Neighbors is going to be the guy that is going to really help, obviously, get points on the board for this team. I don't think that he needs to have 18 targets as much as he did last week. Maybe he does if we can establish the run game, but Devin Singletary and the offensive line did a really nice job last week. And we can say whatever we want about the fact that the Commanders' defensive line is not nearly as good as the Browns, and that is true. But what is also true is that this offensive line is finally going to have a little bit of confidence in themselves to know that they can run block. Week 1, they were absolutely terrible. Now they need to stack back-to-back games of saying, we are capable of run blocking. We're going to open up some holes for Devin, and he is going to do the rest of the work. So I really want to see them establish a rushing game on the ground. The Browns defense has given up over 225 rushing yards in the last 2 weeks. So, you know, they're capable. There are holes there. So we need to take advantage of that. I think we're going to see a bigger RPO game from Daniel. I think that's one thing that is also going to help establish the run, that if the pass option is not there, then you just take off and slide. For the love of God, DJ, please slide. I need him to be smart here with his decision making, and sliding is going to be one of the things that he needs to do well, and he needs to make smart decisions when releasing the ball. He cannot turn the ball over this week. Now, last week he did a good job of that, and he made smart decisions, and even when he aired it out, it wasn't close to being intercepted, but it also wasn't close to being caught by Neighbors. So I want to see him make those adjustments this week, and if he's going to air it out to Neighbors, please make it catchable, because those explosive plays are what this team needs to get points, you know, especially if they're struggling with the run game. So I just hope that they can do, you know, one of those things successfully. If they can do both successfully, then obviously we're going to have a chance at winning. I just think that no one feels that great about them doing both of those things very well this week, coming off of the last 2 weeks that we have seen. So I want to talk about a couple PFF ratings, because again, there's so much negative with this team, but there are like a little bit of positives, and you know, these made me feel better, so I hope that they will make you feel better as well. So the Giants PFF ratings from last week: Malik Neighbors was 89.4, Micah McFadden 87.8, Brian Burns 80.2. The fact that Brian Burns was so high was shocking to me, because he didn't show up at all on the stat sheet. So, I mean, I'll take what I can get, but I hope that he's really healthy and ready to go on Sunday, because we need a big game out of him and also Kayvon. Andrew Thomas, our man, all of our faves, 79.8. Dexter Lawrence, 75.3. I have other PFF stats here for Micah McFadden, and I want to talk about this because, you know, week 1, you guys know, I mean, there was a lot of frustration coming out of that game, but one of the biggest things that I was frustrated with was that I didn't fucking see Micah McFadden take a snap. And I understand that he was coming off an injury and he was on a pitch count, but like acting like Darius Musso was better than him or played better than him is truly delusional. And I just cannot believe that that's literally what Dable said. And I just like, after what we saw last week, I'm going to read you Micah McFadden's stats. He better be the starter. There's just no excuse for it. And I think that he's going to get the starter and he's going to get the most of the snaps. If Darius comes in a couple snaps here and there, I would prefer he does it only on special teams. But if they use him in the defense, that's fine. But McFadden is the better player and needs to be playing 100% of those defensive snaps. In week 2, he had an 87.9 PFF grade, which was 6th overall for linebackers. He had an 88.4 run defense grade, which was also 6th overall, which is shocking considering our run defense was atrocious last week. And he had 5 stops and he was tied in 9th for that. So something that I think hopefully we can look forward to. One thing that was pointed out by the beat writers from this week's practice was that Shane Bowen and the defensive staff was focusing on run stopping and running through the D-line. So I'm curious what kind of changes they're going to make from a schematic perspective. They're going to have to stack the box because they didn't do that last week, and I think we all saw how badly that fared for them. So I want to see them make plays. They cannot allow the Browns offense to just run down the field like the Commanders did. And the Browns are more talented than the Commanders are. So it's week 3. It's time to step up. You know, I understand that they're learning a new system, and for the most part, I have given them some grace when it comes to that. But enough is enough, okay? You focused on it all week. You've got McFadden back. You've got all your starters in. You know, Isaiah Simmons is good to go. Brian Burns, I'm sure, is going to be good to go. Like, every single one of you has to step up because it's embarrassing now. And like, you can't do that, especially when Nick Chubb is not on the field. So he's obviously one of their better players. They're missing some of their key best players on offense and defense. So, you know, they just have to step it up now. Like, they just cannot go 0-3. Just inexcusable. Here's the final injury report from the Browns. Let's see what is going on with Myles Garrett. Honestly, that's the only one that I care about. I know that there are other guys that I think are going to be important, but let's see what we say here. So 2 of their tackles are both questionable. Right tackle Jack Conklin and left tackle Jedrick Willis. So likely those guys are both going to play if they're listed as questionable, but I think the fact that, you know, they're not 100% because they were limited in practice this week. Again, Burns and Kayvon, get there, okay? Willis was out for both week 1 and week 2, which means his first game back off an injury. Take advantage, the 2 of you. Do you hear me? So Conklin was questionable for week 1 and 2, but he was ruled inactive for both games where Willis was out for both, okay? So this is going to be their first week back. They're listed as questionable. If they are both playing, get there, okay? So I'm looking for Myles Garrett here. I don't see him on the list, which is not good. So they have Njoku and running back Pierre Strong Jr. are both out. There is no... Myles Garrett is not listed on here, which you can just negate everything I said about Myles Garrett not playing and how helpful that would be for the Giants. But of course this would happen, is he did not practice the last 2 days and he's good to go. Make it make sense, Cleveland. Sketchy. I don't like it. Okay, 2 more things and then we'll call it a day here. So Neighbors, another stat that I really liked. Neighbors is one of 2 players, Jaden Reed is the other wide receiver, to have the most 20+ yard gains. So I know this offense is not looking like one of the best offense in the league, but we got to take the highs where we can get them, and that is Malik Neighbors. So I'm excited for a big game out of him. And then Singletary. I know we're all disappointed with the fumble. Listen, shit happens. He got it punched out. I don't expect that to happen on a regular basis. I don't really expect it to happen again. He's a veteran and he makes smart decisions usually from what I've seen. Singletary leads the running backs with the most forced tackles. Now this includes runs and receptions. He leads all of them 2 weeks with 15. averaging over 7 missed tackles per game. And all I'm going to say is Saquon was not in the top 5. Thanks for listening. I'll be back next week with a recap. Going into this game, optimistic. Do I think they're going to win? Probably not, especially knowing that Myles Garrett is going to play. But I want to see improvements, and I think that they're capable of doing that. So I wish them well. Good luck. They're going to need it. But make sure you follow me on Instagram at New York Giants Fangirl. It's at NYG Fangirl on Twitter, and then New York Giants Fangirl on TikTok. So I will keep you guys posted on Sunday what I'm going to do. I'm either going to go live on Instagram or maybe I'll live stream here on YouTube. But I'll let you guys know ahead of time so we can all chime in the chat and commiserate or celebrate together, regardless of how things go. So thank you guys for listening. Please like, share, subscribe with your friends. And there's a lot more Giants content where this is coming from. So I'll see you guys next week. Let's go Giants.